Hello everyone, welcome to Rhythm in Africa. So in this episode, we're talking about hip hop. Didn't see that one coming, did you? I understand hip hop did not start in Africa, so the history of hip hop that we'll be looking at in this episode is hip hop after it was invented by African Americans, and then it traveled all the way to Africa. Hip hop found its way to Africa through France, where there was a DJ called DJ Sydney who always used to play hip hop on his radio show. So this radio show later evolved into a TV show called Hip Hop, and this was the first national TV show about hip hop, and this was also the first France TV show to be hosted by a black man. So in case you're wondering what France has to do with this, remember about half of all African countries are French speaking. So the people in these countries were obviously excited when they found out that there was a black man hosting a French television show. So the migrants in France started dubbing these radio and TV shows about hip hop onto cassettes, because cassettes were still a thing back then. So you can think of dubbing like downloading something from the internet, but like downloading a stream, something like that. So it will be playing on radio, and then you can download it straight to a cassette, and then they sent these cassettes to Africa. So these migrants or merchants, and also merchants that were coming from New York. So that means hip hop entered into Africa through Senegal, because Senegal is the most sub-Saharan country that's close to France and also closest to New York. The love of hip hop started spreading through Africa, but there were problems because the most important aspects of hip hop, which are the lyrics, the flow, and the overall message, were only understood by the high school and college level group of people, and these were only the select few privileged. So this caused a lot of resistance to hip hop. But then hip hop artists understood the impact that hip hop could make. So they started substituting the English lyrics with indigenous languages in order to get the message across. So it took about a decade of underground hip hop fans sharing these tapes across borders before the mass media caught on. But then everyone was overtaken by South Africa because a documentary was shot there about hip hop called African Wave Prophets of the City. And then after this, hip-hop concerts started happening all around South Africa and other Southern African countries, in Tanzania and Senegal. And in a weird way, the popularity of Michael Jackson caused a growing interest in dancing, and this caused an interest in hip-hop, since hip-hop was associated with breakdancing. And then there was a TV show that was being watched across Africa starring a hip-hop artist called The Fresh Prince from the hip-hop duo DJ Jazzy Jeff and The Fresh Prince. And this helped normalize hip-hop across Africa. And then around the mid-90s, hip-hop started being recognized in African National Music Awards, and African hip-hop artists also started being recognized in International Music Awards. And then there were TV channels like MTV and Channel O who helped spread and normalize hip-hop across Africa. In an interview, an artist from Senegal said rap was born in Africa, and then it was grown in America, and then went around the world and came back to Africa like a boomerang, and this is what he meant. A long time ago in Africa, writing was not as widespread, but Africans understood the importance of education. That's why we've got a lot of riddles and folk tales and learning games. But you can only go so far using this method of learning, because it's almost impossible to communicate complex ideas using this method of learning. So for complex ideas, we used griots. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing griots correctly. Griots. So griots were oral historians, praise singers, musicians, genealogists, and storytellers, and they had to be lyrically and linguistically fluent, and be able to memorize much more things than the average person, and be able to play a bunch of instruments to make the education process interesting, because they were responsible for educating these complex ideas. Fun fact, Akon's father is a griot. And besides griots, it was an actual duty for grandmas and grandpas to gather everyone on one weekend night and perform a hip hop for them. And then in countries like Malawi, NGOs started recognizing the impact that hip hop and raga had on the youth. So they started making these concerts and competitions, hip hop competitions, to try to draw the youth to messages of HIV and drugs and things like that. Hip hop in Africa also influenced fashion and modern hip hop artists, like my current favorite artist called AY Poyo from Ghana, and Nasty C and Boy T and AKA, and you know what? I think I'm just gonna make another hip hop episode because there's a lot of things, so much more things, and I can't fit everything in one episode. So while I do that, you just sit back, subscribe, and wait for the next hip hop episode. For now, wash out.